very special evening. I want to say hello to those of you who know us and who've joined our events before, and a special hello to those who are connecting with us for the first time. And I know there's quite a few of you who haven't been with us before. So for those of you who are new, we are the Awakening Heart Collective. That is myself, Liz Butler, Louise Livingstone and Peter Granger. And it is our simple mission to shine a light on the heart in all its forms, physical, energetic and spiritual, so that we may come to understand the profound healing that's available to us individually and collectively when we connect to our hearts. Now, it's quite easy to imagine, I think, that the heart has something to do with our well-being and our healing. But to really fully understand this and to begin to live in a way that allows us to access this healing and it allows this healing to come through our hearts, that requires work and it does require practice. It's a journey of discovery. And Louise, Peter and myself, we want to support you on this journey by bringing together our own ideas, but also the ideas of other heart teachers. So the reason the three of us are so passionate about this work is that we are well aware, and I'm sure you are too, that the world is in quite a lot of chaos right now. Chaos, stress, strife. We are in tumultuous times. And we believe that heart connection on an individual and collective level is the only way we're going to come through this and out the other side into a brighter new world. And actually, we believe that it's really the duty of each and every one of us to heal ourselves and to foster our own heart connection. Because if every single one of us were to do that, then collective healing, planetary healing would happen naturally and without effort. So today is World Kindness Day. You may or may not know that. And so let's think about how we can all take a little step towards our own healing by offering some compassion, one of the heart's main qualities, to others, of course, but primarily to ourselves. We're often very good at showing kindness and compassion to others, and somehow we often forget to offer that to ourselves. But we must do, and we must do it on a daily basis. So to help with this, Louise is going to lead us in a short heart connecting practice to open up the evening. And after she's done that, I will then introduce our wonderful speaker. So Louise.
Thank you, Liz.
Over to you.
Welcome, everyone. So lovely to be with you today and in this space with Catherine as well. So I'm just inviting you just for the next couple of minutes to move into your heart, and just an invitation for you, if it feels right, you might like to close your eyes or rest them in a soft gaze. You might also like to place your palm or your palms over your heart and simply begin by breathing. So taking a beautiful, long, life-giving breath from the natural world that gives you that breath of life every single living, breathing moment, and drawing that breath with focused awareness down into your heart space. And then as you breathe out, imagine, feel, visualize, or intend that you're breathing that breath back out from your heart, back out to the natural world. So just an invitation for you to breathe in and out of your heart at a rhythm, a pace, a depth that feels comfortable for you. As you start to experience yourself in the relational space between yourself, your breath, and the natural world, and your heart. as the breath moves between each of you. And as you draw your breath ever deeper into your heart, you are activating just by focusing your attention in your heart through your breath. You're focusing your attention in your heart and activating your heart. This organ of imaginal awareness, this organ of knowing. And also this beautiful place, this sacred sanctuary, an inner temple that contains all the beautiful qualities and characteristics that you would normally associate with your heart. As Liz has already said, kindness, compassion, that space of deep attending, deep listening, reverence. So keep your breath moving into your heart and out of your heart. And as you sink deeper into your heart through your breath, perhaps now you can start to feel some of your heart's beautiful, loving qualities. As already mentioned, maybe it's easier sometimes to offer love, care, compassion to other people. But what about yourself? So as you move your breath in and out of your heart, in the relational space between you and the natural world, just inviting you now to become aware that your heart wishes to shower you with all of its beautiful, benevolent qualities. Your heart wishes to shower every cell, atom, fiber of your being with its love, care, compassion, reverence, and deep, deep gratitude for you and all that you are. So with every breath, just feeling your heart showering, soothing you with its beautiful, benevolent qualities. Reaching every part of your being, from the top of your head to the ends of your toes, to the ends of your fingertips. As you sink into your heart's love for you, as you feel your heart's love and care and appreciation for you and all that you are. And know that you can return to this space whenever you wish, simply by your breath, moving in a focused manner into your heart, or placing your palm over your heart. You can return here always to this space of sanctuary, of safety, and of nourishment and resourcing. So now just thanking your heart for nourishing you, resourcing you, showering you with its love and energy. And then in the next few moments, just inviting you to come back to the Zoom room. So starting to become aware of your physical body that is sat on the seat beneath you, becoming aware of the sounds within the room around you where you're located in your part of the world. And with every breath, just rising and rising in your awareness, returning to the present moment in a way that's right for you in your own time, having connected with your beautiful heart and carrying your heart and its openness with you as we move into Catherine's talk tonight. So thank you, everybody. Welcome back.
Thank you, Louise. That was really lovely. And just a few moments like that, like you say, we can come back there any time we want to. Anytime we can just put a hand over our hearts, deepen our breath, close our eyes, and tune in. So worth doing it, because just feel how the energy has changed, how it's changed in your body, how it's changed in this group, just with a few moments of slowing down and connecting. So Louise, thank you for that. That was lovely. Okay, so just before I introduce Catherine, I want to just very quickly say that we are recording tonight's event, and that means that when we come to questions, if you want to ask a question, you will be seen on the recording if your camera is on. So if you'd like to ask a question but don't want to be seen, then please turn your camera off. Okay, so I said that the heart has different forms. And this evening, we have a very accomplished and experienced practitioner focusing for us on the energetic heart. Her name is Catherine Clinton. She's a naturopathic physician based in Oregon, US, and she's spent over 17 years helping people overcome their health issues. Catherine has a special interest in the energetic workings of the body and in the exciting new field of quantum biology. And tonight she'll be drawing on this knowledge to give us a deeper understanding of the heart and its role in coordinating the many functions and activities of the body. Catherine's book, Optimize, a groundbreaking 7-step plan to health and longevity through quantum biology, is about to be released and can be pre-ordered from her website. And we will give all the links so that you can find that. Catherine is a very busy lady, very much in demand, so we feel very privileged to have her with us tonight. And so let me extend a hearty warm welcome from all of us and say thank you very much, Catherine, for being here. Nice to see you.
Thank you so much for having me. What a wonderful group. What a wonderful opening. Thank you. And I am so excited that more and more people are awakening to the power of the heart and the energetic qualities of the heart. I founded the Quantum Biology Health Institute last year, and we're just now getting our first research study back. And we did research on daily heart coherence practice and how that impacts mitochondrial function. Because mitochondrial function is very well accepted in mainstream medicine. And if we can tie the two in, I believe it will help us further this idea that living a heart-centered approach, a perspective in life is so important when it comes to our health, our families, our communities, what's happening around the globe right now. Imagine if we were all living from a heart-centered base. And so it's really my deep passion and mission in life to push this information forward. To walk into a room like this with all of you here doing this is just so very wonderful. So thank you so much.
That's a pleasure. Did you have slides you wanted to share, Catherine? Shall I? I've
I
made you
did. I have.
co-host,
Okay.
so I think you'll be able to do that now if you want to. I will just unpin myself. and give you the full screen. There we go. So
Wonderful.
if you want to share, you should be able to now.
Okay, what I'll do is I'll first just introduce the talk and talk a little bit about quantum biology and then pull up the slides. So, when I was in naturopathic medical school, I was in my second year of schooling, very long hours, long clinic hours, and I was diagnosed with two autoimmune conditions and Lyme disease. And that's how I actually found quantum biology. I was looking at some of the research around mitochondria, and I stumbled across this incredible new research about how our bodies are utilizing quantum mechanics, quantum tunneling, quantum entanglement, superposition, and quantum coherence. And that's what really blew my mind was this idea of quantum coherence, that there's this intelligence in the body that allows for all this order out of chaos, all this coherence, all this alignment. And the first study I read, these two researchers, Greg Engel and Graham Fleming, they were looking at photosynthetic bacteria, these little bacteria that utilize light for energy, like a plant would. And they were looking at how these bacteria capture a photon of light and get it to the photoreactive center for photosynthesis to occur. And that process is almost 100% efficient. It's very efficient, more efficient than any machines that we have out, any computers that we have existing today. And they were looking at what drives that. And they found incredible things like that photon of light can take multiple paths. It can quantum tunnel through an obstacle, so it doesn't have to go around the obstacle, it can go right through. But what really excited me was that the proteins in this bacteria all vibrated in unison to keep that particle of light on the fastest path to the photoreceptive center for photosynthesis to occur. It was this demonstration of this intelligence that exists in living organisms that allows for these brilliant quantum effects to happen for life to happen. And that's really what completely changed my trajectory and allowed me to heal. I started looking at light, I started looking at sound, I started looking at water, I started looking at electromagnetic fields, these invisible blueprints that exist in our world that guide life in a very profound way. They are the foundation that gives rise to what we see in our lab reports, in a doctor's office, in our bodies. And so, this is the field of quantum biology, the study of these very small quantum effects giving rise to measurable effects in the body, in biology. And so, this is what I'm talking about today. I'm talking about this quantum biological perspective of the heart. And I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir here a little bit, saying that the heart has the biggest electromagnetic field of any organ in the body. When we drop into heart coherence, like we did in the beginning so beautifully, that coherence, that energetic field that is being emitted by the heart, it acts as a conductor and it pulls the brain into coherence. And coherence really describes how two or more things can work together as one. And so, this beautiful energetic field of the heart allows for this entrainment. It acts as a conductor, pulling in the heart. It acts as a ripple throughout the body, affecting our immune system, our nervous system, our respiratory rate, our digestive system. So many things are affected by this energetic field that our heart emits. And if we think about the body as an orchestra with each organ, each tissue, each cell, playing its own tune, right? It's its own unique instrument. Well, the heart is really the conductor, so that all those different pieces can create this beautiful song of life. And what I'm going to be talking a little bit about today is, how does that work? How is that working? So I'm going to share my screen. Hmm. I am not sure why it's not letting me share my screen.
Hmm. Have you got your little ribbon at the bottom, Catherine?
Mhm.
And have you got the little green button that says share?
I do. I do.
Okay.
I've just gone into my settings to see why it's not allowing the sharing. It's a little green button with an arrow, and I'm pressing
Yeah.
it.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
And it's not giving you a box or anything?
It is not.
Hmm.
It
How
usually
odd.
pulls up where you want to share.
Hmm.
Um, but I can continue without my slides. Basically, what I just had 4 or 5 slides because I wanted to give you guys a visualization of what I was talking about. And I can email those into you so that people can see those visual representations. But what the first slide was a look into how water in the body is acting as an antenna. And when we talk about quantum biology, when we talk about these invisible guiding instructions for life, whether that's light, whether that's an electrical field, magnetic field, electromagnetic field, whether it is the quantum field, whether it's our thoughts and intentions, all of those things play on the backdrop of water in our body. And the water in our body takes on a different organization than water in a glass that we might be drinking. We're so used to thinking of these 3 phases of water, right? A gaseous steam vapor phase, a solid ice phase, and a liquid phase that we would drink in a glass of water. But there's a 4th phase of water, a plasma state of water that exists in living systems, and it's absolutely incredible. This is the work of Professor Gerald Pollack and his team out of the University of Washington. He was the first to identify, he was definitely not the first researcher and scientist to propose that there was a different structure of liquid water, but he was the first one to actually identify it under a scope and take pictures of it and have evidence that this 4th phase of water exists. And that's the name of his groundbreaking book, The 4th Phase of Water. And what he found is that as water comes up to a surface, it takes on a different structure. And this is what the first slide is showing. This hexagonal lattice, like a honeycomb, if you can imagine the structure of a honeycomb. That's what this water structures as. As water comes up against a living cell membrane, a tissue, our fascia, our DNA, all of these things are hydrophilic. They allow water to come right up to the surface. And when it does, something incredible happens. It changes structure into this hexagonal honeycomb lattice shape. And it acts as a template for one sheet to form. And as that sheet forms, it builds more and more layers of this liquid crystalline water. It changes in structure. It's more gel-like, it's viscous, it's thicker, and it takes on a negative electrical charge. Our cells run on a negative electrical charge. When we look at the function of any organ or any cell in the immune system, or our red blood cells transporting oxygen throughout the body, if we were to look at the function of the heart, for example, any dip in that negative electrical charge is going to be associated with not only a dip in actual function of the heart, that vortexing of blood through our blood vessels. The heart is one muscle, right? We can unwrap the physical heart and we can see that it is contracting, creating this helical flow, this vortexing flow of blood. And any dip in that negative charge is going to decrease the function of that physical heart, but it's going to also decrease that energetic projection that we talk about when we talk about heart coherence. And so this liquid crystalline water, Gerald Pollack calls it exclusion zone water because that lattice formation pushes out any particles, it pushes out anything smaller than a hydrogen, than a proton. And as this negative water builds against our cells, it pushes out a hydrogen, a proton. So water, right, is H2O. It's got that oxygen with the hydrogens hooked onto it. It's kind of like a Mickey Mouse head, right? This oxygen face with these little hydrogen ears. And as this water builds, it pushes out a positively charged proton and creates this zone of positively charged water. So we have this negatively charged water that's it organized. It's a lattice formation. It's gel-like, it's viscous, it's negatively charged. And then we have this positively charged water that forms right outside of that zone. And that separation of charge between the negatively charged water against our cells and tissues and that positively charged water, just like the separation of charge in a 9-volt battery, creates potential energy. It creates this reservoir of electrons. And when we talk about the basic building blocks of life, we are looking at a proton, a neutron with electrons. We often think of billiard balls, right? But that's not correct. It's this fabric of energy, this universal fabric of energy that we are all embedded in. We don't end at the barriers of our skin. We are intimately and energetically interconnected with every being, every structure, every plant, animal, and human on this planet through this universal flow of energy. And the water within us, that liquid crystalline water, it can capture energetic information, frequency information like light, our thoughts, the electromagnetic field of our heart coherence, the electromagnetic field of other heart coherences of the people around us. HeartMath Institute has done incredible research on how the electromagnetic field of the heart, that magnetic field, is contagious, right? And I think we've all experienced that. Someone walks into the room and they have this energetic quality about them that we feel comfortable with. We want to hang out more. We sort of lean into that conversation, or the opposite, where someone comes in who is angry or having a difficult day, had just a negative experience, and we just kind of recoil back a little bit because of that carrier wave, that energetic carrier wave of the heart. And that water within us can capture that information. It can store that information and it can transmit that information. So if we think of the body, we are mostly water. By weight, we're about 65% water. But if we were to line up all the molecules in our body, because the water molecule is so small, it is, we would have, if we were counting those molecules, we would be almost 98% water. Because those molecules are so small, molecularly speaking, we're about 98% water. We are water beings. And the next slide I had was a picture of a cymatic mandala. So, cymatics is the field of how vibrations imprint on water. And vibrations, when you look at what happens when a petri dish of water is exposed to music or a vibration or a certain frequency, it takes on this mandala shape. It takes on this beautiful geometric structure. And the ability of frequency, sound frequency, to impact water in a petri dish in our body is one step. Then there's also the step that is looking at this field of water memory and how water can hold information. And we see this in the work of many different people. We see this in the work of Masaru Emoto, and he has done so much research, decades and decades of research. And he took petri dishes, these glass petri dishes of water, and he would put labels underneath these petri dishes. And he would label them with positive words like love, hope, um, you're beautiful, you're worthy. And then he would take petri dishes and put labels underneath them like, evil, you fool, right? These negative energetic phrases. And what would happen when he froze the water in those petri dishes was the ones that had the positive influence would create this beautiful structured water, these ice crystals that were absolutely beautiful. And the ones with the negative influence would become chaotic and didn't really have an organized structure. His pictures almost look like snowflakes, right? But they're individual water crystals that have been influenced by conscious intention. And Emoto got a lot of flack because he would do this with many different petri dishes and he would pick out the most beautiful ones and then the most disorganized ones from the positive and from the negative influences. But he learned from that criticism, and by the time, he his career ended, he was doing incredible research where he would have people do heart coherence from a distance, and he took hundreds, thousands of people practicing heart coherence, and he would have them project it at a distance. So he had people doing this in Japan for one experiment. He had people doing this in Germany and Austria for another experiment, and they were projecting that heart coherence overseas to a laboratory in San Francisco in the United States. And the studies were triple blinded. When we talk about research, double blinded placebo trials are sort of the gold standard. These were triple blinded. So the people didn't know where they were sending the research to. They were just sending it to a picture of a vial. The people in the research laboratory didn't know. They were blinded. They took pictures of all the water crystallizations and had people who, again, triple blinded, the third blinded group didn't know what the input was, whether it was heart coherence or just placebo. And they found the exact same thing. That conscious intention of heart coherence was able to travel overseas through this fabric that we just talked about, this universal field that allows distance to collapse, that allows that energy to almost instantaneously go to a different spot and create this influence of positivity. And Emoto's work is absolutely incredible. We also see the work of researchers like Jacques Benveniste from France or Luc Montagnier. And they were doing research with water and how water can hold energetic information. And Jacques Benveniste was looking at immune cell reactions, and Luc Montagnier, he passed away a few years ago. He was a Nobel Prize laureate. He won a Nobel Prize for his work with HIV, and then he turned his research to look at water and this ability for water to store information, energetic information. And Luc Montagnier was looking at DNA of microbes. And so he had a glass container and he had a microbial DNA in there. And he was measuring the different frequencies that were being projected from this DNA. Now, if we looked at the periodic table, right, we've got hydrogen and oxygen and carbon, all these building blocks that make up the matter around us. Each one has its own unique vibration, its own unique frequency, like a fingerprint. And that's what he found in DNA, that each specific DNA had its own unique frequency that was very loud, it was resonant, it was very clearly their own unique frequency, their own song. And so he had this glass with the DNA in it, and it was emitting this vibration, this frequency. And he had another glass that he put right by the glass with DNA. They were close, but they weren't touching. And he put the building blocks of DNA, nucleic acids. So they were the building blocks. They were little pieces of amino acids. They were not strands of DNA. They were the building blocks of DNA. And when he had a glass of water with a microbial DNA, with the DNA of a microbe, and a copper wire, and he placed it next to another glass that had the building blocks of DNA, that frequency was able to inform that second glass, and those building blocks of DNA created that original DNA in the first glass. It was just that frequency holding energy and information that created this restructuring of DNA, this creation of DNA from these pieces, these nucleic acids. He even went further and he digitized that. So he took that electromagnetic frequency, that vibration that microbial DNA was emitting. He digitized it, he sent it in a file to a lab in Italy. So he's in France. He sends this in an email to a lab in Italy. The lab in Italy takes a glass of water, puts nucleic acids in it, plays this electromagnetic frequency, and those nucleic acids combine and create that original DNA just from that frequency. And I'm talking about this because from my experience with how frequency information, my passion is how do we get healthier? How do we deepen our consciousness? How do we deepen our intuition, our center, our ground, our sense of heart coherence so that we can usher in a, a time of greater connection, of greater health? And I want to know how it works. I want to know how we do this. And from everything I've researched, it's through this water. And so when we talk about this heart coherence, this field that our heart emits when we are in a state of heart coherence, we have this web of connective tissue called fascia. And this connective tissue is mostly collagen. And when we look at collagen, collagen is semiconductive. That means that it can transmit electrical current. And our fascia is also completely covered in this liquid crystalline water, this lattice water that can hold information, can store information, can transmit this frequency information. So all of a sudden, we have this new understanding of the body where from the very external layers of our skin all the way down to the core of our being, we have this fascial web. And fascia connects to every single structure in the body. It can insert into the insides of our various cells. And it is forming what researchers call tropocollagen nanotubules. And that's just a big fancy word for very small tubes of collagen. So the last slide that I had was a picture of hydrated fascia. And what it looks like is this web, it looks like a spider web in the dew, right? It looks like this web with all these little dewdrops of water on it. And this fascia connects to every single structure. It starts at our most external layers, it comes internally to our most internal layers, and it is covered in this liquid crystalline water, both on the outside of the tubules and on the inside of the tubules. This fascia runs through our nerves, so it's not just covering our structures like scaffolding. That's sort of the idea that I learned and is still being taught today in medical schools, right? This connective tissue, collagen fascia is giving our internal organs structure. It acts as the scaffolding. Yes, that's true, but there's something much more incredible happening. This fascia is not only on the outside, but it's running through our tissues. It's running through our nervous system. So that vagus nerve that innervates our heart, that is um, s- storing that parasympathetic nervous system, that houses that parasympathetic nervous system. When we look at the nervous system, there's that parasympathetic rest, digest, you are safe nervous system, and that sympathetic nervous system, that fight, flight, be alert nervous system. And when we look at heart coherence, it's really the measure of our ability to flow between both sides of the nervous system. And when we're looking at a nerve, when we're looking at the nervous system, it's completely covered on the outside and on the inside of these nerves with this collagen fascia, with these tubules of collagen. And when we talk about how nerves conduct energy and information, what we all learned in school and is still being taught is that it's an electrical conduction. And that electrical conduction, when we look at fascia, our fascia is piezoelectric. That means that it is able to generate its own electrical current, just like a quartz crystal. When we compress a quartz crystal, when we expose a quartz crystal to an electrical current, or when we expose it to pressure waves from sound, from movement, those pressure waves create this electrical current in the quartz crystal. Our fascia is the same. It has that same piezoelectric capacity. When it is exposed to waves of information, it can create this electrical charge. So now all of a sudden, we have a view of the body where fascia and this liquid crystalline water that covers it on the inside of the fascia, on the outside of the fascia, this web of fascia and water are starting at our most external layers and coming into our most internal core. And they are able to pick up on this frequency information, and they are able to store it, and they are able to transmit it. And this, I believe, is the structure by which heart coherence emits. When we talk about how our nerves conduct, the instantaneous conduction of an electrical current is not as fast as light. And light can travel through this water network, through our fascia. That light imprint of our heart coherence can travel almost instantaneously. And that's what we experience with heart coherence, right? We're not waiting for that conduction to happen. It is a emotion, it's a state of coherence we drop into, and that coherence spreads almost instantaneously, right? The speed of light is very fast. And so this fascial network and the water that lines it has the capacity to be the system that is transmitting this energy. When we look at some of the ancient indigenous medical practices like Chinese medicine, fascia really aligns with the acupuncture meridian points, right? And every single ancient indigenous culture that I have studied has a awareness and an acknowledgement, a way to diagnose and to treat this flow of energy in the body. And modern medicine is just now starting to understand that we are energetic beings. Our cells create their own electromagnetic field. That electromagnetic field of the cell informs cell movement and migration. It informs and directs cell behavior. It even informs and instructs cell differentiation, how a cell becomes an ear or an elbow. That information and energy is held in the electromagnetic field of that cell. Michael Levin and his laboratory at a Tufts University is one of the pioneers in this field of bioenergetics and bioelectrics. What I'm talking about right now, how the electromagnetic field of a cell guides its action. And so we see this beautiful return to what we've always known as humans, that we are energetic beings, that we are electric beings. And now we have this understanding of fascia and this liquid crystalline water inside the fascia that can transmit this energy, this frequency, this vibration. And when we talk about frequency, frequency is, I mean, it's used all over the place. People use the word frequency all the time. And when I'm talking about frequency, I'm directly talking about vibration, that unique vibration, right? So all of those different elements in the periodic table that we learned about in school that make up matter around us, they have their own unique vibration. Our electromagnetic field of the heart has its unique vibration. This vibration can be sensed, it can be captured and stored and transmitted through this water network, this fascial water network throughout the body. And vibration, we're talking about a wave of information, right? So when we're talking about light, we're talking about vibration. When we're talking about sound, we're talking about vibration. Electrical fields, magnetic fields, electromagnetic fields, we're talking about vibration. When we're talking about the quantum field, this universal field, we're talking about vibration. And vibration has energy in it, but it also holds information. And there are emerging fields of research out there showing that our body communicates with vibration, with resonance. Like two tuning forks. When I strike one tuning fork and it sings a certain song, that second tuning fork picks up on that and starts singing that same song. If I were to walk into a piano shop and go up to a piano and strike a C key on the piano, all the other C keys in that store would ring out in unison. That's resonance. That's the ability to pass energy and information with vibration across distances almost instantaneously. We don't have to have direct physical contact. There can be distance between us, yet that vibration, that unique vibration, holds its own energetic signature and its own information. And that's what I think is happening in this heart coherence that we practice. I think that is the mechanism by which we see groups of heart coherent meditators able to affect the geomagnetic lines, right? Uh, Roland McCready and the Heart Math Institute has done incredible research with their global heart coherence initiative, where they put sensors around the earth and they have groups of heart coherence practitioners come together, drop into heart coherence, and they can actually measure a difference in the energetic field of the earth that we live on. This beautiful relationship of our heart coherence, the coherence of our community, and the earth that we live on, the ground beneath our feet, this incredible natural world, all pulsing together, all feeling that pulse and that pull of heart coherence. There's been research where groups of meditators have been able to decrease crime rates or decrease wartime violence just by sending out that energetic vibration, and that vibration can be picked up on through this water fascial network in the body. I was talking with Roland McCready a few weeks ago, and he was telling me about research that hasn't been published yet, but where he's taking groups of people who practice heart coherence, and he's having them focus that heart coherence on a particular tree. So behind the Heart Math Institute, there are these trees that were all planted at the same time. They're all in the same environment, right? They're in the same field, same soil, same climate, same water, all of that. All the terrain is the same. But they put a camera on one of these trees and they have everyone focus their heart coherence for 10 minutes. And they have electrodes in all of the trees. And the tree that people are focusing that heart coherence on, and these people are remote, they're not there. They are across the globe, all over the globe. And what they see is an incredible, dramatic spike in electrical activity in the tree that people are focusing their heart coherence on for just 10 minutes. Absolutely incredible, this fabric of coherence that we are living on. So I thank you so much for letting me share a little bit of my thoughts today. Like I said, there were only 4 slides because I just wanted you guys to get that visualization of that hydrated web of fascia, that lattice formation of the water, and some of the structures that we're seeing in cymatics or these frozen glyphs of Emoto's works. So I'll be sure to send those that you guys can see those, but I'm really grateful that I am able to share some of my thoughts around quantum biology and heart coherence. So thank you guys so much.
Oh, thank you, Catherine. That was amazing. I'm in awe of how you explained what are really quite complex things. And there's a lot there, but you put it all so well. And I know there's many people in the audience that will be, well, everyone will be fascinated, but I know we've got some scientists, we've got nutritional therapists here, we've got our water guide, Jeremy, you're here, you will have been loving a lot of that. So I think there's going to be lots of questions. if you'll allow me, everyone, to just start with the first question. I'm fascinated in what you say, Catherine, about how the heart is sending information through the fascia, through the crystalline water network. So I just wanted to get a sense of what you feel are the different ways that the heart is sending information, because every time the heart beats, there's a pressure wave. So that will be one way, I guess, that the heart's sending information. Then there's the electromagnetic field that you talked about, that the heart has the strongest in the body. What other ways? What about light? You said about light communicating and being sent through the body. Would you say that the heart is sending light through
I
that
would.
network? Yeah.
I would. I would say that the heart is one of the biggest generators of light in the body. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about how our cells create light. They create what people have been calling biophotons. And these photons are very weak, right? So I can't see the light that my heart is creating, but our heart tissue is densely packed with mitochondria, and mitochondria create biophotons. They create light emissions as they are producing ATP. ATP is our cellular energy. And as you can imagine, our heart has high energy demands. So it's packed with mitochondria. And these mitochondria are creating ATP to keep up with this constant demand for pumping and generating that vortexing flow of blood through the body. And every time a molecule of ATP is created, biophotons are emitted from that mitochondria. And we know that those biophotons are acting as cellular communication. There was recent research, I was so excited about it, from London, showing that mitochondria are communicating with each other via this biophoton emission. And this was funded by the Guy Foundation. And what they did was they took mitochondria and they placed so you can stress mitochondria out with different substances, hydrogen peroxide, different antibiotics, and I think it was the antibiotics that they used. So they had two populations of mitochondria. One they stressed out with antibiotics, and it induced biophoton emission because our cells, when they are stressed, they create these intense biophoton emissions, almost like a SOS signal. And so they had this colony of mitochondria that were stressed, sending this biophoton emission, and it impacted the biophoton emission of the second petri dish that was there. Again, they're not touching, they're close but not touching. And then they put an opaque barrier between the two, something that blocks light. And they did it again, and there was no change in the second community, showing that these biophotons are a source of communication. And they are incredible in their ability to entangle and create communication over long distances. So that's one way, that another way, absolutely, that the heart can be communicating, that even that contraction that the heart makes creates low frequency sound, and pressure waves of sound through air, through water, can cause inelastic collisions of molecules, and that can create its own signature of light as well. So we have, I mean, so many things happening with the heart.
Mhm. Yeah, fascinating. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyone else with questions? So let me just have a look, because I think we've got
There's a
some
question
in the
from
chat.
Dustin in the chat.
Yes, Dustin, hi. He's saying, just one question. Would you say there's some way for us to have some conscious influence or control of our body water from our nerves or mind, which can affect our energy?
Absolutely. So the how to sum this up so quickly. So our conscious intentions can influence our mitochondria. And we just talked about how mitochondria are creating light, they are creating ATP, they create other different reactive oxygen species that can be entangled and communicate and guide function. Our conscious thoughts are sort of the conductor of so many different things in the body, of our nervous system, our immune system. Our conscious thoughts impact our um, digestive system. So many things we see are impacted by our conscious thoughts. And I was just talking about pressure waves of sound. One of the most intriguing ideas is that our conscious thoughts create, as we have a conscious thought, there is a firing in the neurons, and that creates a vibration, and via that vibration and the inelastic collisions of the molecules there, it creates its own unique light pattern that can be transmitted through the body. And when we talk about this water network within us, the Gerald Pollack and his research, and many others have validated and duplicated, replicated this. But what grows that water network in the body is infrared energy. And this idea that our thoughts collapse, causing these inelastic collisions of the molecules, creating infrared energy. That's one way. Another way is through those mitochondria, because they're not only creating light and ATP and reactive oxygen and nitrogen species, they're also creating water. So in the inner membrane of the mitochondria, in that transport chain, the electron transport chain, at the end of the transport chain, ATP is the product. There are 5 complexes, 4 protein complexes, and the last complex, it kind of looks like a T, and it rotates, and it pulls a proton in to the matrix to create ATP. But right next to it, that 4th complex, right next to it, it creates water. And so you have the mitochondria creating water right by the complex that creates infrared energy, making them ideal producers of this liquid crystalline water in the body. And we know that our thoughts and emotions impact our mitochondrial function. And hopefully, soon, from the research that we're doing, we partnered with UC San Diego and their research laboratory. Hopefully, soon we'll know that heart coherence specifically impacts the mitochondrial function. And when we impact the mitochondrial function, we are increasing that liquid crystalline water in the body. So that was a little intricate, and I'm happy to follow up or extend on that as well. But it's a beautiful dance that we do with this conscious conductor that we have, right? Our consciousness. And many people think, myself included, and people in the quantum consciousness field think that consciousness is foundational. It's first, then comes matter. So from that, absolutely, from that standpoint, absolutely, our conscious thoughts would um, impact the water in our body.
Thank you. Peter, you've got your hand up.
Thank you. Yes, yeah. I thought you just mentioned pretty much where I was going with the question. So yeah, thank you for the very interesting talk. You mentioned tubulins, and I'm very interested in the Hameroff-Penrose model of consciousness,
Yes,
which talks a lot
yes.
about tubulins, and I think they've discovered recently that the argument against it was that the brain is too mushy, too hot and wet, basically, so it can't have quantum entanglement within it. But it has been shown recently that it is possible. So I just wondered about your thoughts about that and how that might link with the heart as part of that consciousness system.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm.
Such a fun question. Thank you. So, the main critique of quantum biology is that it can't happen in wet, warm, chaotic environments. But the beginning of the talk, where I was talking about photosynthetic bacteria, they clearly show that it happens in wet and uh, warm and chaotic environments. And not only does it happen, not only is it possible, but it is the chaos. It is all that vibrating and chaos of a living being that creates the coherence, the quantum coherence that allows for those things to quantum entangle or quantum tunnel or have superposition. And that's the research that kind of just blew me away, because where does that quantum coherence come from? Nobody's answered that. It's just there. Um, and so that's a very fascinating thing to think about. But the Stuart Hammerhoff and Roger Penrose, this idea that the tubulin in our microtubules, specifically the tryptophan in the tubules, and then even further, specifically the benzene ring, that six-sided ring in the tryptophan, in the tubulin, in the microtubules of the neurons of the brain. Phew, right? Okay, so we've gone all the way down the rabbit hole to these hexagons, just like that honeycomb pattern in liquid crystalline water. And so, first of all, I think the idea that something is too wet or warm or chaotic for it to have quantum effects is an outdated critique. Um, because we see it. We see it in DNA, we see it in the mitochondria, we see it in enzymes and proteins throughout living things and the human body. Now, what's happening with this benzene ring, this six-sided ring? And it's happening in liquid crystalline water, this easy water, and it's also happening in tryptophan, in the tubulins and the microtubules and the neurons of the brain. What's unique about this benzene ring is that there are electrons that are free. They're called pi electrons, but we can call them free electrons. And what do we mean by free? They're not bound. So when we learn about an atom in the school, we've got the proton and the neutron, sometimes just the proton, but we have that positive core, and then the electrons are around it. When I was in school, they were orbiting, right? Now we talk about a cloud, but they are attached and bound to that positive center. The free electrons aren't. They can go throughout that tubulin and that tryptophan, and they can even go to other molecules. And so what Hammerhoff and Penrose are saying is that those electrons can vibrate with the quantum field, with this universal field of energy, and like two tuning forks, that vibration holds energy and information. And as they collapse back down, so they're in that excited free state. And as they collapse back down, that's a conscious thought. And so that's what they're saying. And what's exciting to me is that, first of all, microtubules and this tryptophan and tubulin are in all living things. So that really broadens our idea of consciousness. And if we are to take it down to that benzene ring, we have this ability to transmit consciousness throughout this water network all over the body, so that it's not bound and isolated to the tryptophan and the tubulin in our brain. It can go throughout the body. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean that was very thorough. Well done. Yeah, I mean I'm struck by the fact that yes, tubulins seem to be everywhere, including the heart, I would guess.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I know this is quite technical, but there's a lot of research on interoception at the moment going on. It's a hugely growing field. So information coming from particularly the heart and the
Mhm.
gut and the skin,
Yeah.
but particularly the heart, back to the brain, far more back to the brain than comes from the brain to the heart. So that's pointing towards the heart being perhaps the center of the intelligence. And so it's not that we are conscious, creating consciousness, but that we are tapping into a greater consciousness using these, biochemical, bioelectrical models and quantum models. Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's very, very exciting. And the fact that we've got the best mathematician in the world working on it, I think Penrose being an absolute genius.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And when you look embryologically, you see this concurrent um, uh, growth of the nervous system, starting with fascia, right? Just 3 layers deep, those cells invaginate and create this tunnel that becomes the spinal canal filled with cerebral spinal fluid, and that holds extracellular matrix collagen proteins. And many researchers, some of the pioneers in this field, like Dr. Mauro Zapatera, call that the extension of the fascia, because those collagen proteins are then, via the lymphatic system, they're then pumped back into the heart, and they go through the fascial layers. So you have this liquid component that's connecting everything as well. It's just so fun.
It's so exciting. Thank
Thank
you.
Yes,
you.
um, Jeremy, our water guy, who gave us a wonderful talk on water a few months ago. I knew he'd have a question for you, Catherine. He's saying, does Catherine know about the coherence created by the Austrian water innovation of Johann Grander, where Gerald Pollack had visited? As Grander water's cell biology research indicates, increase epithelial health by 17.4%. He's also saying, what are her thoughts about the impact of the EMF soup we are all living in, and what is the most powerful way for us to adapt to this new energetic chaos? So first of all, Catherine, I don't know if you have heard of Johann Grander and his inventions around structuring water.
No, sorry, I had to pull up the chat so that I could make sure that I that I was reading what I should be reading, or hearing what I should be hearing. I have not, but you know that that's the first thing I'm going to look up when we get off this call. Um, I maybe if there was a name of the innovation, I would that would jog a memory. But the ability for that structured water, that liquid crystalline water, easy water, coherent domains, whatever we want to call it, for it to act as this. It looks like, from the research to me, that it is acting like a antioxidant in a way. Um, the molecule becomes excited and is able to donate that energy to the body in some way. And so I just want to know about Johann Granger. That sounds very exciting. And so my thoughts on the impact of EMF soup we're all living in, the powerful way for us to adapt to this energetic chaos. That's a great thing to ask, because we are, and there are practical steps we can take, right? So right now I'm sitting in a room. Outside is the router. I have an outside router. I unplug it. At night, it hasn't yet allowed for a component to wire it, but that just came on the market. So that we just ordered that, so we can wire our routers for that wireless. But a lot of us live in apartments in urban settings, and there is all of this EMF around us that we don't have control of. And I think that it's very powerful to remember that law of the inverse squares, right? So holding a cell phone to my ear is going to be much different than my neighbor's Wi-Fi router. The further it is away from us, each foot it exponentially decreases that the power of that electromagnetic field. And that's not to say that we shouldn't take steps to do that. And I think there are things we can do, like wiring our Wi-Fi, turning them off at night, putting our phone on airplane when we're not using it, sleeping without it in the bedroom. Remembering that grounding, going out and putting our feet on the earth and connecting with that infinite sea of electrons that lines the earth, is a recalibration to the energetic state of our own body. And a lot of us think of electricity like, okay, I plug my refrigerator into the socket and electrons flow through the wire like water would flow through a hose. But that's not exactly what's happening. There is some movement of electrons, but it's pretty slow, what's actually happening is the movement of those electrons, even though it's slow, creates that electromagnetic field, and the energy is in the field. And so if we can go put our body in the field of the earth, the natural environment, that electromagnetic field then calibrates that energetic state of our body. And so remembering that can be really powerful and potent, because a lot of it we can't do. But if there ever is a time when we can vote, when we can use our dollars to let corporations know we like wired things, we like testing, we like, there's so many things that can be done. Why aren't cell phones and computers, why are the EMFs global? Why aren't they projected away from us? That's possible. That is possible, and it doesn't affect our technology, our ability to be here in this meeting. So there could be an infrared sensor where anytime I'm next to my computer or next to my phone, that infrared being, that's me, we project the EMF away from that. So pushing our corporations to do that is another step, maybe a long road, a little bit longer than unplugging the router at night, but that's what I think. And I think that that electromagnetic field of the heart, I think our heart coherence, I think that internal coherence is the biggest tool we have for our health, for our consciousness, for everything. People always ask, they want to know about devices, they want to know this, that. And this is the top one for me, is creating that state of heart coherence inside of our body. Absolutely.
So good to hear you say that. And on the EMF, there is a lot we can do, and we should take those steps, like you say, but worrying about it is only going to impact our heart field in a negative way. So it is about balance, isn't it? And
Yeah.
talking of health, one of our nutritional therapists, Jules, who's listening tonight, has said, first of all, she could listen to you all night long, Catherine, and says it's been fabulous. And she's said, could you please ask Catherine for her top 3 tips for improving health based on her understanding of the quantum effects in the body?
Yes. Yes and no. I'm going to give you 4. So I can't narrow it down. It has to be 4. So heart coherence is the top. And then I would say building this water battery inside of us that we've been talking about, right? And that means hydration. And hydration, we can talk about structured water. We can talk about minerals in our water that allow the water to get into our cells, get into that extracellular matrix. And then what builds it? We know infrared energy does. And what's the biggest source of infrared energy on our planet, in this solar system? There's a clue. It's the sun, right? And right now I'm here in the Pacific Northwest in Oregon, and we've sort of said goodbye to the sun until, March or April. But even on those cloudy, dreary days, if we step outside, we are enveloped in infrared energy. So it doesn't have to be that beautiful tropical sunny day. Anytime the sun is up, there is an abundance of infrared energy, and that has the capacity to build that water battery within us. Um, Saunas, warm baths. A couple years ago I got a sauna, but for years I didn't have it. So what would I do? I would use a warm bath. And I'm on a well, so we're very water conscious. And I could just with a little bit of hot water, however many inches, 4 inches, let's say 3 inches. It wouldn't cover my body. I would kind of be like a little mermaid flipping around, like from my front to my back. And if it's warm water, you can really induce that infrared effect. I would get that sweat just like you would in a sauna, but in a warm bath, and saunas are very expensive. So that's a way to get around that. So trying to get infrared energy, movement creates infrared energy. So building that water battery, I think that oh, geez. I mean, this is what my book is all about. It goes through water, our electric being, our light being, all of these. Um, it goes through all of it. And now I'm having a hard time keeping it to four. But I will say light is really important. So aligning, having coherence with the light in our environment, getting light in the morning sets up our hormonal pathways, our immune system, our neurotransmitters, our nervous system. All of these things are triggered by the light in our environment, and we have evolved over millennia with the sun, the rising and setting of the sun being the main input. So getting light in our eyes, and I don't mean looking right at the sun, I mean going outside and opening our eyes, right? Light is refracted all around us, and lowering the lights at night. Moving to something like this salt lamp that I have behind us or behind me, lowering the lights away from these LED lights. And then I would say one of my other favorites, I'd like to increase the list to 10, but I'll keep it at four, is sound. And we can do so much with that external sound, putting on your favorite music, a sound bath, all of those things. But one of the most powerful ones is self generated sound. So singing, humming, toning, chanting, prayer, self-generated sound increases our oxytocin, our melatonin, that master antioxidant, our dopamine, nitric oxide, vasodilating, and bring more oxygen throughout the body. So um, if I had to choose today, that would be my four, but there are so many others. That's the beautiful thing about quantum biology is so much of this is free and accessible. It's more of a returning, it's more of a remembering of these things that are so powerful to us than a fancy new treatment or device.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so glad you've mentioned your book, Catherine. When's it actually going to be released?
It is released January 6th, and I'm it is available for pre-order, and we have a lot of pre-order gifts. Right now we have my Unlocking Your Quantum Biology course that if you pre-order, that it comes with that. It also comes with over 60 hours of quantum biology master classes with people like Gerald Pollack, John Stewart Reed, Eileen McCusick, Mauro Zapatera talking about cerebral spinal fluid. So many incredible researchers, so many researchers from the water community, the light community, Dr. Jen Gleffrey, just wonderful information.
I'm sure it is absolutely fabulous. So I will put all the links to all of that, Catherine, under
Thank you.
the video and the notes that I'm going to send out, so you'll all be able to access that. I think as we're coming up to 8:30, we will leave it there. I want to say a huge thank you, Catherine, for giving up
Oh, thank
an
you.
hour and a half of your time today. I know everyone has absolutely loved listening to you. I certainly have. We could ask questions a lot longer, I'm sure, but we know we can get your book. And as you say, you're covering so much in there. So that's wonderful. So yeah, once again, Catherine, thank you so much for your wisdom and your fantastic information, and keep on doing the wonderful work you're doing. You've got a great YouTube channel. I'll also put the link to that. There's lots of great information on that as well. So yes, from all of us, a big, big thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And thank you for doing this. I think this is exactly what we need. So thank you.
Pleasure, pleasure. And before we leave you tonight, I just want to say very briefly that we've got something very exciting coming up for our Christmas event, and that is taking place on the 17th of December. And this is so exciting. We have a member of the Royal Ballet. Now, let me make sure I get his name correct. Peter's going to tell me a bit more. I am going to just switch glasses again. So on the 17th of December, we are going to be hosting an event called The Heart of Ballet. And this is going to be featuring Valentino Zucchetti, not sure I'm going to pronounce that right, who is first soloist with the Royal Ballet, choreographer and executive producer of the New English Ballet Theatre. So very festive, and the reason he is coming on is because he has been working with Peter and Claire from Heart Bond, and they have been doing some work on how ballet and movement and dance connects us through our hearts. So Peter, I'm going to let you just say a little bit more about that, because you're the expert here.
Okay, yes. So yes, there's just over a year ago, we were lucky enough to start working with dancers from the Royal Ballet, and it came from a conversation we'd had with someone. We'll tell you more about that in December. But what we were interested in is how audiences connect when they watch ballet, but also how they connect with dancers and how dancers connect. So we're measuring all of these situations, and the results are absolutely fascinating. And Valentino, who we will interview on the evening about his life and work, calls it the magic of ballet. And when you see the data, you'll see why there is a magic. Because as Catherine was saying, we are so connected. We're all connected. And there's an energetic piece. We have no doubt there's an energetic piece to it. But in December, come and enjoy it. We've got some clips of the ballet, and we'll show you some of the data and where we're hoping to take it in the future.
It'll be very festive, very exciting, and yeah, you're all invited. So there'll be more information. I'll send that out in our newsletter. So thank you once again to Catherine, and thanks to all of you for being here this evening, either joining us live or watching later on. It's been so fascinating to talk about the heart and really be at the intersection of the physical heart, the energetic heart, and the spiritual heart. We've touched on the whole consciousness. So we've really brought everything together tonight. And Catherine has presented her work so beautifully, and I've loved it, and I know that you have too. People are already ordering your book, Catherine. So I'll be doing that too. Okay, so thank you, everyone, and look forward to speaking to you soon and connecting with you again. Keep in touch through the newsletter, and hope to see you in December. Good night, everybody. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.